My name is Darren, and like many people in their late 20s trying to move up the corporate ladder, I believe that hard work would eventually be recognized. I was wrong, at least in this company. 3 years ago, I started as an operations associate at Bridgestar Logistics, a mid-sized firm known for boasting about its employee-first culture. The job was simple enough: inventory checks, shipping logs, reporting delivery issues, and coordinating with drivers. Nothing glamorous, but it was honest work, and I was good at it. Then, after about a year, everything changed. Our warehouse manager, a guy named Marcus, quit out of the blue. No notice. Just vanished. The company was in panic mode. Deadlines were looming, client inspections were scheduled, and operations were already stretched thin. I wasn't even the most senior person on the team, but for some reason, I was the one Matt, our regional director, called into his office. "Darren, you've been solid," he said. "We need someone to step up and keep things running until we hire a new manager. It won't be long. Just a couple of weeks." Couple of weeks? Try 18 months. At first, I didn't question it. I thought, this is my shot. I started showing up early, staying late, skipping lunches. I reorganized the schedule system, trained new staff, mediated conflict between warehouse teams and the sales department, and even began sitting in on morning leadership huddles. They said it was temporary, but by month 3, it was obvious they weren't looking for a new manager at all. I was doing everything Marcus used to do, without the title, the salary, or the respect. But I kept going. I kept thinking that if I could just prove myself, it would pay off. I even bought new clothes for meetings, studied supply chain optimization during my evenings, and started taking notes in company town halls, hoping to stand out. And then, like clockwork, nothing happened. When I brought it up to Matt, I got the classic line: "We're reviewing budgets right now. But you're doing great, keep it up, and it'll happen soon." That line became a monthly mantra. Keep it up. You're almost there. We're still finalizing approvals. I didn't realize it then, but I wasn't being groomed for promotion. I was being exploited for free management labor. By the end of my second year, I had become the go-to guy for everything. Scheduling conflicts? Darren will fix it. Shipment delays? Ask Darren. Employees showing up late again? Let Darren handle it. He's good with people. I was the invisible glue holding the place together. Still no title. Still no raise. I kept a hopeful attitude for as long as I could. I told myself, maybe next quarter. Maybe after this client deal. Maybe once the fiscal year closes. I convinced myself it was coming. That recognition was just one good deed away. Then came the audit. A huge client, one of our top accounts, sent a compliance team to inspect our operations before renewing their multi-million-dollar contract. They gave us 4 days' notice. That would be a nightmare for any fully staffed team, let alone a warehouse running with a skeleton crew and no official manager. Guess who prepared the entire thing? I stayed at the warehouse past midnight 3 nights in a row. I redid floor charts. I cleaned areas that hadn't been touched in months. I rehearsed talking points with the staff. I printed performance summaries and mapped out our top metrics. I even caught and fixed a data error in our automated reports that would have cost us the contract. The inspection came. It went flawlessly. The clients were so impressed, they renewed for 2 years, not just 1. They even said they'd recommend us to a sister company across the country. At the celebration the following Monday, they brought in donuts, cheap coffee, and everyone gathered around in the break room for a quick announcement. Matt walked in holding the client letter. "Everyone, I just want to thank the team for pulling off something amazing. It's not every day we get a renewal like this. Special thanks to leadership, of course. This is what great direction looks like. He was talking about himself. No mention of my name. No thanks. Not even eye contact. I stood there, holding the audit binder in my hand, the same one I built page by page, feeling like a ghost at my own funeral. People patted me on the back quietly, but nobody spoke up. Matt took the credit, walked out, and went back to his corner office. That night, as I sat in my car in the parking lot, I stared at the warehouse. What am I doing here? I thought. They're not going to promote me. They're not going to reward me. They're going to bleed me dry and then replace me the moment I burn out. And that was the moment something inside me snapped. It wasn't rage. It was clarity. I wasn't going to ask again. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to wait. I was going to change the game on my terms. After that slap-in-the-face meeting, I made a quiet vow to myself. I will never let them profit from my loyalty again. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten to quit. That's what they expected from disgruntled employees, outbursts they could dismiss as emotional or immature. Instead, I smiled. I nodded. I said, of course, when Matt handed me new schedules, and, no problem, when I stayed late to train the new hires. But inside, I was building something. The documentation. I started logging everything, and I mean everything. Every time I corrected an error from the finance team. Every shift I covered for a no-show supervisor. Every client call I took after hours. Every time I fixed something that technically wasn't my responsibility. I created what I call the Shadow Manual, a complete, step-by-step guide on how I ran the warehouse like a manager. I didn't share it with anyone. It wasn't for them. It was evidence. The interviews. After a few weeks of silent documentation, I began applying to jobs, but not just any jobs. I applied to their competitors. I rewrote my resume to reflect my actual duties, not just the title on paper. Under Operations Associate, I listed things like managed 22+ staff across 3 shifts, resolved over 300 vendor and client escalations within a calendar year, streamlined warehouse processes that reduced delays by 19%, coordinated interdepartmental reporting for executive-level reviews. Within a week, I had 3 interview requests. 2 were with companies I knew Bridgestar hated losing bids to. In those interviews, when they asked, "Tell us about a time you demonstrated leadership," I didn't just tell them, I showed them. I opened my laptop, shared my shadow manual, my tracked KPIs, and even mock schedules I'd built to automate our labor coverage. One hiring manager literally leaned forward and said, "They had you doing all this? Without a title?" That's either the worst oversight I've seen, or the smartest exploitation. I laughed. Little of both. By the end of the second round, I had 2 offers. One was for a logistics coordinator with a $92,000 base and full benefits. The other? Director of distribution at a newer, faster-growing firm. $105,000 to start, and a relocation bonus. That offer felt like a rebirth. But I wasn't done yet. I had one more thing to do. The setup. I waited until everything was in writing and signed. Then I prepared my exit package. It included my resignation letter, short, polite, dated with 2 weeks' notice. A printed copy of the Shadow Manual. A breakdown titled Unfulfilled Commitments and Role Creep Summary, with exact timelines. And a final note stapled to the top that read, "If you want someone to do a manager's job, you should pay them like one. Good luck finding another Darren." I sealed it in an envelope. I smiled the whole time. I walked into the office on a quiet Monday morning, the kind where nothing seems out of place, except, for once, I was absolutely calm. No rushing, No catching up on emails at 7 a.m. No fixing last-minute callouts. I had something far more important to deliver. I waited until the leadership huddle wrapped up, the same meeting Matt always forgot to include me in, despite me running half the action items discussed. When he returned to his office, I knocked once, stepped inside, and handed him the envelope. He barely glanced at it. "What's this?" "My resignation," I said, still smiling. His brows shot up. "You're quitting?" I nodded. 2 weeks from today. I've accepted a role that reflects the work I've been doing for the past year and a half and compensates accordingly. He flipped the envelope open and skimmed through the pages. His expression shifted. Amusement, confusion, discomfort, and then the panic. "Wait, hold on, Darren, let's not rush into anything. You've been a valuable asset. If this is about money or a title, we can talk. I'm sure we can work something out now that the budget is reopening." I cut him off gently. "Matt, I brought up this conversation 6 times. You told me the timing wasn't right. So I made my own timing." He sat back stunned. "You've been doing manager-level work, but you didn't ask for the manager title directly." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean besides the 6 written emails? The dozens of verbal check-ins? Or the fact that I've been running your operations without a single write-up or complaint for over a year?" He had nothing to say. The silence was golden. I stood up. "I've outlined all my duties in the handoff binder. If someone actually reads it this time, you'll be fine. Good luck." Then I walked out, not just of his office, but out of the version of myself that allowed this to happen. Over the next 2 weeks, chaos began brewing. The team was lost. The moment they realized I wasn't staying, the scheduling collapsed. People were being double-booked. A client's shipment was delayed because no one followed up on customs clearance. A junior staffer tried to reassign work orders, but missed 3 time zones in coordination. I wasn't trying to sabotage anything, but without me plugging the daily holes, the cracks became canyons. By Friday of my final week, HR reached out asking for an exit interview. I agreed, but on paper only. I sent them a calm, factual, bullet-pointed document. Length of time doing management-level duties. Number of times I requested formal promotion. Revenue generated under my leadership versus average before me. Reasons for departure. Lack of recognition. Broken promises. Role exploitation. I kept it professional. But every line was a scalpel, clean and precise. The goodbye. On my last day, I brought donuts. Not out of kindness. Out of poetry. It was the same, "Thank you," Matt gave the team for the audit. A few coworkers pulled me aside. They told me they were happy for me. That they had seen everything, but didn't know how to speak up. One whispered, "You leaving might actually wake them up." I just smiled. It's not my job to wake them up anymore. I stepped out into the parking lot with nothing but my car keys and my future. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking to a job. I was walking to a career I chose. My first day at the new company felt surreal. The office was bright, open, and full of movement, but not the kind of chaos I was used to. People were efficient, focused, and best of all, respected. I was no longer the guy fixing things in the shadows. I was introduced to the team as Director of Distribution Operations, with full authority over a 60-person logistics network and a starting salary that made my old paycheck look like a part-time internship. They asked for my opinion. They listened when I spoke. And for the first time in years, when I ended the day, I didn't feel like I was dragging my body home. I had space to breathe and to lead. Meanwhile, at Bridge Star, 3 weeks after I left, I got a message from my old coworker Jenna. It simply said, "You left a crater. Turns out, they rushed to promote someone internally, a guy named Todd from sales, who barely knew how to read a delivery schedule, let alone manage warehouse rotations. Within the first week, 2 major deliveries were missed due to poor scheduling. Then a longtime client canceled a quarterly shipment after not receiving a timely follow-up. One of the night shift team leads walked out midweek after Todd accused him of not understanding supply flow. Matt called an emergency meeting to rebuild team unity. Nobody showed up on time. Then I heard from one of Bridgestar's former clients, yes, former, who contacted me on LinkedIn. "Hey Darren," the message read. "We were always impressed by how smooth things ran under your watch. Any chance your new company is accepting external fulfillment contracts?" You bet we were. Within 2 months, I had successfully pulled 3 former Bridgestar clients into contracts with my new firm. Not because I wanted revenge, but because they reached out to me, not the company. Because they remembered who got things done. The lesson I took with me. Looking back, I realized I hadn't just been underpaid, I'd been underestimated. The mistake wasn't in working hard. The mistake was in waiting for validation from people who were happy to take everything and get nothing back. At my new company, I used that lesson. I built a promotion framework for my team that clearly outlined paths, expectations, and timelines. I made sure no one would ever feel like I did, stuck, ignored, and used. Within the first 6 months, I advocated raises for 2 of my best team leads. They got them. Because I never wanted to become another Matt. Final thoughts. If you're reading this and you're in the same position, working like a leader but paid like a trainee, let me say this. You're not crazy. They see your effort. They're just hoping you'll settle. But you don't have to. There's always another path. Another place. A better version of you waiting to be seen, heard, and rewarded. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't ask for the table. It's to build a better one, and invite yourself to sit at the head of it.